Hey guys, it's Dan Ryder again, and in this video we're going to be talking about one final piece to setting up your offline conversions that we didn't cover in previous setup videos, whether you're setting up with Google, Facebook, or both. And that is the attribution mode. We kind of glossed over. So right now I'm on the Facebook configuration area of Hyros, and there's this toggle here for offline conversions at attribution mode. And you have two choices. The default is last click, and all the setup that we've done thus far has been assuming that you're going to stick with the default of last click. But there is one other option called scientific. And I'll talk about what that is in a moment here. And it's important to note that if you are advertising on Facebook and Google together, the attribution mode that you choose here actually affects how Hyros sends it back to both platforms. So meaning, at least at the time that I'm recording this video, if you choose scientific mode inside of the Facebook configuration area and then you start running Google ads, or you're already running Google ads, it will send those conversions back the same way, right? So it's going to be last click for both or scientific for both. So let's talk about the difference between the two and then get into how you should make this decision or recommendations for how you can make this decision. And then finally, how to implement this. And implementation is a little bit more complicated on Facebook, but we'll walk through how to do it. For a quick explanation of what scientific mode is, and let me just select it here, and it's going to warn you this will affect how you send conversions to Google and Facebook. Are you sure this is what you want? Because it wants to confirm. You could always change this, by the way, so don't get too scared, but I'm just going to hit yes because I wanted to unlock this other option here for the attribution range. Okay, so there's a few options here. Anywhere from 1 to 30. And what this is, or what it represents rather, is the number of days that you're going to give the first ad somebody clicked on to get credit for the sale. Otherwise, Hyros will give credit to the last ad that the person clicked on before purchasing or booking a call or what have you. So in summary, it's either the first click or the last click that gets credit for the conversion, and the attribution range is the length of time you're willing to give the first ad to take credit. So if you want to visualize this, right? If you imagine a timeline, and on this timeline I just have days 1 through 45 here, and you have a few ads that somebody could have seen. So if the person actually clicked on the first two ads, right? And the second ad was clicked on day 15, and if you chose 30 days for the date range for your scientific mode, then you would actually allow ad 1 to get credit for a sale, right? If the person clicked on both ads inside of 30 days and you chose 30 days as your window of time, then the first ad has up to 30 days to get credit for the sale. Now, if that person clicked on all three ads that you see here and they didn't actually purchase or book a call until after they saw ad 3, then at that point in time, ad 3 is going to get the credit because it's the last ad they clicked on, and that ad occurred outside of the 30-day window, right? So the shorter the time frame you choose, obviously the less time the first ad has to get credit for the sale or the call. And if you want to dive a little deeper on scientific mode, you can actually go to the Hyros docs, and under advanced use attribution modes, they've got a few different articles on all the different attribution modes. There's actually a couple more that you can use to run reports inside your Hyros account. They're not relevant for offline conversions, not at least when I'm recording this video. And you can read more about scientific mode there in the Hyros docs. So the next question is, when does this matter, right? And really, I think it comes down to a couple of things here. It depends on your business structure and your sales cycle. So if you've got an e-com store that's more of like an impulse buy, you have ad campaigns where people kind of get interrupted and then they see something they might be interested in and they kind of buy on the spot. Usually that's going to be a low ticket item, lower ticket, right? It's less of a bigger decision. And so somebody could see ads theoretically and buy pretty quickly. The sales cycle is pretty short, right? Compared to a business with a longer sales cycle. So maybe you've got a funnel where you're booking calls. You might be educating people with your ads, and or they might be going through webinars, and there might be a lot of follow-up involved before somebody actually makes a purchase or buying decision. You might see this with higher ticket offers if you are selling coaching or services. or it could be an e-com brand that's more high ticket, like furniture, or something that's not so easily you're going to be scrolling on Facebook or get interrupted by a YouTube ad, and then all of a sudden you're buying something for $1,000. Chances are that doesn't happen with higher ticket e-com items, right? People are kind of researching. So if you've got a long sales cycle, then it may actually matter to you to know which ads are actually driving the sales on the front end of your advertising. And so to not overcomplicate it, I think a real simple way to look at this or to think about it is, where are the vast majority of your sales coming from? If the vast majority of your sales are happening almost immediately in the first day or two, right? So again, this is going to be more of these e-com low ticket, impulse buys, short sales cycle type of funnels. Then you're probably fine with the last click. Conversely, if you've got a long sales cycle, then you may want to consider using scientific mode. Because again, now if you visualize it on our timeline, if we're talking about the funnels with a longer sales cycle, the majority of people could be buying after 30 days. So if you've got a lot of sales happening here, right, and chances are this is probably a retargeting ad that they're seeing. If they're seeing ads from you after 30 days, there's a good chance it's a retargeting ad. So imagine if you had multiple ads that you were serving to drive the front end, and you wouldn't be able to tell which ad campaign is really driving the front end of your business, because ad 3 would be getting all the credit. If you were using last click as your attribution mode, which is the default with Facebook, by the way, and with Google too, it's the default setting. In that situation, normally you would just have this ad getting all the credit for all your sales, and you'd have no idea which ads were really working on the front. One last scenario, which is kind of a blend of the two, is you might have a funnel where a lot of purchases happen between days 15 and 30, right? Let's say like this was your window where most of your sales came from. And in that process, you had a lot of like prospecting ads that people would see, and then you had a lot of different retargeting ads that people would see. And in that situation, you could use an attribution mode of scientific and set your window to 10 or 15 days. That is one of the options. So you can see more of what's happening with your retargeting and your prospecting ads, especially if you've got a wide variety of retargeting and you want to know which retargeting ad or angle is the one that's working. You have to think about that, and the time window you set would be appropriate based on your sales cycle and what you're actually doing with your ads. So this really is an individual decision. And again, to keep it simple, that third scenario was a more complex situation, but I think for the majority of advertisers, you can think of it quite simply as, do I have mostly impulse buys that occur in the first day or two, or do I have sales that occur if I'm running a call funnel, a webinar funnel, or a high ticket service, something where people are buying maybe even after, at least half your sales are coming after the first month? Then in that case, scientific mode really does make the most sense, in my opinion. And so those are the issues that I think you should be thinking about when you make this decision. And if it makes sense for you to use last click, you're already good to go based on the previous training videos that we went through with our setup. If you do decide that you want to use scientific mode, let's get into how to actually deploy that for both Facebook and Google. And so for Google, it's actually ridiculously easy. You just go into your Hyros account, click on Settings, Integrations, and go to Configure your Google settings. And then I already have it set here to scientific mode, but yours would be set to last click. Just come in here and choose scientific mode. Hyros will give you a little warning saying that you're sure you want to do this. And it does, again, it does affect both Google and Facebook if you're running ads on both. And are you sure? You just say yes. Okay, so that switches it to scientific mode. And then the second choice here is, what date range do you want to give the first ad to get credit? And that's going to be an individual decision. The longer your sales cycle, the longer the time window you obviously want to give the first set of ads to get credit. And so typically if you've got a really long sales cycle where, again, the majority of sales are happening after 30 days, you're going to want to make sure you set this to day 30. If you've got a more complicated ad funnel and you have a lot of different prospecting ads that somebody might see in the first 2 weeks, and really you consider all of those ad campaigns, even though some of them are kind of re-engagement / retargeting campaigns, but they're really driving a lot of your prospecting, you could shorten this time frame a little bit so you could see some of that attribution. Otherwise, though, you could probably set it to day 30 and be just fine. So again, think about the time frame that makes the most sense for your sales cycle and your business, and just select that here. And that's it. You'll be all set up for Google now, because offline events sent to Google exist as independent standalone events in your ad account. There's no overlap with any of the web events you've already set up, whether that was through Tag Manager or using the web tag with Google. There's no overlap between the two. And you will just simply select, as we went over in the previous video, for Google, you will simply select those events that you want to optimize around in your ad account. And there's nothing else to it. Facebook, on the other hand, can be a little bit more complicated, so we'll talk about that next. Okay, so for Facebook, you're going to do the same thing initially. You're going to go to your Facebook settings, and then you're going to scroll down to the offline attribution mode area. You're going to select scientific mode and your date range, and then now you have to do one more thing. You have to go to your conversion rules, so go ahead and click that. And really the issue with Facebook is the event name, because with Facebook, when you send them conversions offline, you're actually sending it to the same event by default. At least that's how we set it up for last click. And so what Facebook does is when they receive, if they happen to catch the conversion from the web pixel, and they also receive a conversion offline from Hyros, what Facebook will do is Facebook will deduplicate. Hyros sends them enough data so that they can realize that they did happen to catch that sale or that call. And Facebook will go ahead and ignore the conversion sent by Hyros because it already caught it. And as we know, Facebook, of course, is going to miss several conversions. And so when Facebook did not identify that conversion already, Facebook is going to keep it from Hyros. And it's going to stack all the conversions on that one event so you can continue to optimize around that event. And in a normal last click situation, that's great. The issue could be, though, that there's a chance that if you choose to use scientific mode with Hyros, that Facebook may not deduplicate if they think that that sale or that call is attributed to the first ad somebody clicked on, whereas if Hyros knows for certain that it was a different ad and Hyros sends that data to Facebook, Facebook may not deduplicate that. And consequently, you would have a conversion that's double counted, which nobody wants, because your stats are going to be wrong and it's going to throw off your optimization. So you've got two options to deal with this. Option one is to choose a new event name for your conversion, which would create a new custom event inside your events manager that you can create a custom conversion for. And it's really important that this be a brand new event name, because it doesn't matter if you're already using custom conversions in your funnel, whether you're tracking sales through custom conversions or calls through a custom conversion. It doesn't matter. It needs to be a brand new event name. So again, whether you're using a standard like purchase, a standard event, or you're already using a custom conversion, you need to now create a brand new event type. So rename this conversion, whether you're dealing with sales or calls, rename it something completely new so that that new event will show up inside of your events manager in Facebook, and you can go ahead and create a new custom conversion off of this new event. The reason for this is this new event is going to be using the scientific attribution mode from Hyros, and this event will not be receiving any web events because you have not installed this custom conversion on your funnel or on your store. It's solely going to come from Hyros. So it will be purely an event based on offline conversions. And that way you can guarantee that there aren't conversions that are being double counted, because Facebook, we're not sure if Facebook will deduplicate an event or not if the attribution modes are different. So just as an example, if you chose the name Hyros conversion for your new custom event name, eventually inside of your events manager in Facebook, you would see that event flowing inside of your pixel. Once you see that, you can go ahead and create a brand new custom conversion off of that event. So you would simply create a custom conversion just like you would normally. You would name it and then choose the appropriate pixel, and then you should see that event under custom events, and you would simply select that. It's no different than creating a custom conversion the way you would normally. So if you were tracking calls, it would be pretty simple. You would just hit create. If you were tracking sales, if you had custom conversions for sales, you can go ahead and enter a conversion value and then hit create to create your conversion. Now, if you're running an e-commerce store, or if the purchase value matters because you have several different products, and it's really important to you that you see that value represented in your ad account. As you know, a custom conversion doesn't give you the flexibility to have dynamic purchase values show up inside your ad account. So there is one more option to handle that scenario. So before we go ahead and finish off the setup, let's show you what that option is in case you want to take that route instead. And chances are, if you're running an e-commerce store, this is probably going to be the option that you're going to want to go with. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to Hyros, and inside your Facebook configuration settings, if you're in the offline rules, just go back. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to create a new pixel. So you can go ahead and click the drop down and simply hit Create New Hyros Pixel. Hyros will ask if you want to continue. Just simply say yes. And by the way, you could always switch back, so it's really not a big deal. So Hyros will let you know that they created a new Hyros conversion pixel in your Facebook account. You can hit OK. And if you refresh the screen, you should see that you have a new Hyros conversion pixel in this drop down here. So the cool part about this is if you go back to your conversion rules, you can actually now go ahead and use the standard Facebook event for purchase. The standard Facebook event for purchase, as you know, does report dynamic currency values. So if you have multiple products, like with the case of an e-commerce business, you will see all of that the way you would normally expect to do so. So similar to creating a brand new custom conversion like we just talked about, you're now creating a brand new standard purchase event, and you've isolated it on its own pixel. And this pixel is not installed on your store or not installed on your funnel. And so for that reason, this pixel will not be receiving any web events. There will be no web events for purchases. The only events that this pixel receives will come directly from Hyros. And you can guarantee that Facebook will not be double counting sales because the only source of sales is going to be coming directly from Hyros using the scientific attribution mode. So as we talked about, you have two different choices. You can create a brand new custom conversion. This would make more sense for calls or for custom purchase events where the dynamic purchase value doesn't matter as much. If that does matter to you, what you're going to need to do is create a new Hyros pixel, and then you can go ahead and use the standard event type for purchase. Now let's talk about, regardless of which option you choose, how to set this up inside of your Facebook account so you can start optimizing around these new events. First thing you're going to want to do is go to your business manager settings, and if it's a pixel, you're going to go to pixels. If it's a custom conversion, you're going to go to custom conversion, and you have to add assets. You have to assign these assets to your ad account because you may need to assign them before you are able to access them and optimize around them inside of your ad account. So you can go ahead and do that first, depending on which one you chose. Next, what you're going to do is go to Events Manager, and you're going to have to go down to Aggregated Event Measurement. Then you will simply select the domain where you have these events already set and click Manage Events. And at the time that I'm recording this video, Facebook is putting out a warning that you can only change your priorities for events that you're tracking on a verified domain once every 72 hours after you make a significant change. That may or may not be true depending on when you're watching this. So just go ahead and keep that in mind. And go ahead and hit Edit. And then it will take you into the Event Configurations area. Now you're likely already optimizing around purchases or calls potentially as your highest priority item. And all the ad sets in your account are optimizing off of that event. So in order to not mess with any current optimization, what you're going to want to do is add a brand new event. So you'll hit the Add Event button. And if you created a custom conversion, you'll simply choose Custom Conversion and then look for the conversion name that you chose. If you did choose to create a new pixel, you will simply search for the new Hyros conversion pixel that you just created and then select the purchase event. And then finally, you'll want to prioritize that event as high as possible. A good rule of thumb with any brand new event would be to leave it at the second highest priority, and that way you can give Facebook time to collect data from Hyros. And as you're creating new campaigns, new ad sets, you can simply start optimizing around the new custom conversion or choosing the new Hyros pixel if that's the route you chose. You can, at that point, if you would like, choose to make it the highest priority. Of note, if you change the event priority for any events that are actively being used in any ads in your account, those ads will be temporarily paused for up to 72 hours, and you'll have to turn those back on. So please keep that in mind. There's a chance Facebook could remove that as a consequence, and if that's the case, then you don't have anything to worry about. But either way, you certainly don't want to move the brand new event to your highest priority until you've given it time to collect data and prove itself in your account. One last note here is if you're already using the maximum of 8 slots that Facebook gives you, you may need to make a decision by cutting one of your lower priority events. Perhaps if you're using a view content event, you may need to remove one to add a new custom conversion or a new pixel, so keep that in mind as well. Once you have this set, simply hit submit and you will be all set. So as you can see, it was a little bit more complex to get this set up with Facebook, but that is it. If you have any additional questions, I would recommend you review the Hyros docs or reach out to your Hyros rep. And again, my name is Dan Ryder with Ryder Media. We are a certified agency partner of Hyros. We've been using Hyros for the last almost 2 years to help our clients in e-commerce, info businesses, coaches, consultants. We've helped them scale their ads using Hyros on YouTube, Facebook, the major ad networks. And so if you want help with that, you can go ahead and head over to rydermedia.com. Otherwise, follow the training in these videos to get yourself set up with Hyros and scale your ads even higher. Thanks so much.